Hi, I'm Raj Verma, coming to you live from San Francisco, California. I'm superbly excited to get the opportunity to be able to address you all, and thanks in advance for your time. We are living in unprecedented times. The advancement in generative AI over the last few months has been happening at a breakneck speed. The number of applications that are already using, in fact, we at SingleStore have started to use a lot of generative AI-based applications over the course of the last few months. And as I continue to tell my friends, in the overall evolution of generative AI, we are still in the rotary dial stage from a telephone perspective. So there is ways to go for us to fully understand the power of these generative AI-based applications. But the one thing that we do know, that at the heart of a generative AI application is data, and really real-time data. Fortunately for us at SingleStore, our mission right from the start has been the ability to provide you, our users, and our prospects the ability to transact with high fidelity and to analyze your data or reason with your data without moving data in a hybrid multi-cloud environment with millisecond response times. This gives you, our customers, the ability to do real-time analytics versus point-in-time analytics, which has then powered many applications, including ride-sharing applications, personalization applications, fraud, cybersecurity apps around the world for many Fortune 500 customers and beyond. Now, this ability of real-time analytics is more important today than in any time in our history. Now, the one format that has not really come, or data format which has not really come to the real-time party, unfortunately, is the JSON data format. And now, usually all your data in Mongo applications, JSON data, the real-time analytics capabilities are fairly limited. Now, that's going to change this morning. I am superbly excited to announce SingleStore Kai, a product that allows you to unleash the power of real-time analytics on your Mongo data. The speeds that you would experience once you try this are over 100x faster than what you currently experience. So not only is it fast, but it's also frictionless. Now, what do I mean by that? You do not have to rewrite your Mongo application or change anything. Literally, you have to press a button and unleash the power of real-time analytics on your Mongo data, including the data in JSON format. Let's actually see how it is done.
The ability to power applications that ingest, process, and analyze data instantly is vital for today's modern business. And historically, users have turned to NoSQL databases like MongoDB to get started quickly. But while it's quick and easy to get up and running, there's one major issue. MongoDB is a document database, and it isn't designed to power the fast, real-time, interactive analytics modern applications demand. Not to mention, you now have to ETL all the operational data from MongoDB to other relational databases to perform analytics. And that means flattening the data, doing complex data transformations and query changes, all of which are costly and time-consuming. This means that eventually, everyone hits a humongous wall. What if there was a better way? Introducing SingleStore Kai for MongoDB. The fast, easy, and efficient way to turbocharge your analytics on JSON data. That means up to 100 times faster analytics for your MongoDB applications and 0 query changes, data transformations, or schema migrations. You can augment your MongoDB server with SingleStore to power blazing fast analytics on all your data in real time. That's JSON analytics done right. Best of all, you can continue to use the same MongoDB drivers, tools, and APIs that you love. That means you get the schema flexibility and simplicity of NoSQL together with the speed and analytical capabilities of SQL. Now that's what we call the best of both worlds. SingleStore Kai for MongoDB.
As you just saw, not only is it insanely fast, but it's also frictionless. As I said, you don't have to rewrite the app. You do not have to leave your beloved Mongo API. And if that wasn't good enough, we have further extended SingleStore Kai for you to be able to run vector/semantic search on your JSON data, thereby being able to power some of the most exciting generative AI-based applications that you are in the process of building, again, without leaving your beloved Mongo API. So now you have the ability to be able to transact with high fidelity, analyze, and contextualize your data without having to move data frequently. I'm superbly excited with this capability, and I can't wait to see how each and every one of you would use it in a unique manner to give competitive advantages to your enterprises and hopefully to make this world a better place. Thank you very much for your time this morning.
Good morning. I'm very excited to be here today to talk to you guys about SingleStore Kai. My name is Yatharth Gupta. I'm the SVP of Products here at SingleStore. I want to tell you a few stories. This journey of Kai has been very exciting for us. This journey started for us with our customers trying to run analytics on JSON data. Now, we're all familiar with JSON. We all know that it's a popular data format, a popular model. Semi-structured offers a lot of advantages, a lot of flexibility to our customers. We all know applications use it. We all know IoT devices often use it. But here is something that I was surprised by. This journey starts with our biggest financial services customers. I'm talking about the big New York banks. It turns out that when they write trade data, they often write it as JSON. They write it as JSON because they need the semi-structured flexibility. They also put in tags in there for analytics. They need these trades to be analyzed in real time. As the data is born, they need it to be analyzed so that a machine can give a thumbs up or a thumbs down whether the trade's going to be good or bad. All of the telcos write their CDR data as JSON. Security companies are getting inbound JSON streams. These are events that come from a variety of devices, security, IoT, that space, and all of them need to be analyzed in real time. APN customers, we have a lot of APN customers who differentiate them from their competition because they have better, faster analytics. APN vendors, application performance management, they get data. More often than not, as JSON, they need to analyze it, show their customers, the output of those analytics in near real time. This is how the journey started for us. When the first customer came to us and said, hey, could you natively run analytics on JSON? Which is something we can do, but we wanted to build a lot more on top of it. Over the last 6 months, we've added technology that fundamentally speeds up both transactions and analytics on JSON. Now, we wanted to do a little bit more. So we went to our customers and we asked them, we wanted to understand which are the different teams that work on it, what does the life cycle of the data look like, what happens, and what are some alternatives that they use. The first thing that we heard from customers is in these scenarios where they're running analytics, again, speed was critical to them because they're literally serving the output of this analytics to customer-facing applications, which, they cannot have latency. They need very, very high concurrency and very low latency. They also wanted to make sure that they retain the JSON document format for a variety of reasons. They didn't want to flatten the format and put them into rows and columns because that was creating problems for them when they had to reconstruct or update those documents. It becomes a real big challenge because you flattened it out. Now you're updating one key. Is it a new key? Is it an old key? It's a complex scenario for them. They also don't like moving data. Nobody likes to move data. So you have an old TP database, predominantly Mongo. That's what we saw. It's a great database. They're putting their data there, but they're not able to analyze the data there because it's not designed for that. That's not the intent there. So they ETL the data, flatten the data, put it into common OLAP databases. In our case, they didn't need to flatten the data. They could just put it as JSON. But for other databases, they had to flatten the data and then run analytics. Should they want to serve those analytics, they're going to add a couple more databases. Starting to become a big problem for them. But the use case is phenomenally important to them. It's sort of their bread and butter use case, so they have to do it no matter how complex it is. we wanted to solve all of these problems for them. We at SingleStore, we do hate data movement. We believe that your database should serve all your needs, not some of your needs, not only your specialized needs, but all your needs. With SingleStore Kai, what you get is a Mongo endpoint on the same SingleStore database. You're able to ingest data at a very high rate. You're able to use the Mongo API, their aggregation framework, to run analytics on data, which is 100x faster, 100 times faster, not 100% faster, but 100 times faster than what you can do in Mongo using the API that Mongo provides. We've just put that surface area on SingleStore. You can use all of the common Mongo tools. It's a pretty rich ecosystem, and we want to make sure that you can use the tools that you want and not need to change all of those tools. Your application remains identical. Take the same app, you point it to SingleStore, you run your queries. Analytics is 100 times faster for you. You can also run additional queries on SingleStore that you couldn't run on Mongo. Generative AI applications are becoming very, very popular. Vector search is a function that we support, and we've added it even to the Mongo API using extensibility. To make it easy for you and to complete this life cycle, we've built in CDC capabilities into SingleStore. So you're able to take Mongo, point it to SingleStore, we'll get the data for you as it's changing. With SingleStore Kai, we wanted to make sure that we offer you flexibility of architecture patterns, because everybody starts from a different place. You might already have an application, you might be building a new application. So here are two architecture patterns that we support. You can continue to use your Mongo database. You can CDC the data into SingleStore and point the analytics queries to SingleStore, and they're going to run 100 times faster. The CDC engine is already built into SingleStore. You could also use SingleStore exclusively. We support both OLTP and OLAP queries using the Mongo API service. Our intent here is to make sure that our customers can get the most out of JSON. They have these applications where this model is important. We want to service it, transactions, and really, really fast and real-time analytics. Let's hear what a few of our customers have to say about this.
This is a great solution for SingleStore. We're looking forward to using it. We use SingleStore heavily to deliver the best solutions in real time for both hedge funds and banks and broker-dealers. We really wish SingleStore well on this launch and look forward to using it.
With SingleStore, we reduced our dashboard responses from hours to sub-second, reduced the impact of sneaker bots, and allowed our merchants to quickly connect with actual human buyers. From all of us at Seed to all of you, we wish you a great launch of SingleStore Kai.
Hello, this is Liran Eitan from Twingo, the biggest reseller of SingleStore in Israel. We are beyond excited for the launch of SingleStore Kai for MongoDB.
The ability to instantly refresh asset prices with SingleStore helped one of our customers become the official digital asset pricing provider on the Bloomberg terminal.
Our share customers have been eagerly waiting for this product, and we can't wait to see the results.
From all of us at Gaslick to all of you, we wish you a great launch of SingleStore Kai.
Congratulations on the launch. Hatzlacha.
Exciting. I am excited too. One of the joys of having my role is to build things, and then customers actually value what we build for them to make their lives easier, for them to deliver more to their downstream customers. I want to tell you guys that this is available in public preview today. So you can go to singlestore.com, or there's a little QR code here. You can look at that. Somebody's going to put a link in the chat window. You can sign up. You can try it out for free. If you are a customer of ours, to use this functionality, there is no additional cost associated with it. It's just part of the one SingleStore database. I'm going to hand it to my colleague Jason, who's going to talk a lot more and show you a couple of demos with this. Thank you, guys.
Thanks, Yatharth. My name is Jason Thorsness. I'm a software engineer at SingleStore. I've worked on databases and performance in the industry for a long time, most recently building SingleStore Kai for MongoDB. While Raj and Yatharth went over what SingleStore Kai is and why it matters, I'd like to spend a few minutes on how it delivers faster in-app analytics for MongoDB applications. I'll go over some benchmarks we've done and show a demo. And it's not just about query performance. At the end, I'll cover other ways in which SingleStore Kai for MongoDB can enable new functionality in your applications. So let's go a bit deeper into how we built Kai. SingleStore Kai for MongoDB is a proxy service compatible with the MongoDB 6.0 wire protocol. It accepts connections from MongoDB clients and translates MongoDB API commands to operations in SingleStore SQL. Then, it translates responses from the database into MongoDB protocol responses. That means you can interact with SingleStore Kai using the same MongoDB commands used with native MongoDB. It's about that simple at a high level. We've implemented all of the translations that most MongoDB applications will require, about the same as the MongoDB-compatible services offered by other leading cloud providers. And we're continuing to fill in additional functionality targeting the MongoDB 6.0 version. So you might be wondering, what makes SingleStore Kai fast? SingleStore Kai for MongoDB is fast because SingleStore DB is fast, and our low overhead proxy delivers that speed directly to applications. While SingleStore DB has many features contributing to its performance, I think that there are three key aspects that provide the most benefit to MongoDB workloads. 1, the unified table storage. 2, the advanced encodings used for JSON data. And 3, the compiled queries used by the execution engine. With SingleStore's unified table storage, data is initially written into a row store in memory, then automatically moved in batches into an optimized column store. The row store portion enables quick writes, including bulk writes, and the column store portion scales to accelerate queries over very large data sets. This table structure is a natural fit for JSON data. The SingleStore DB JSON encoding is seekable so that individual documents can be recreated quickly for point reads, and it also supports highly optimized vectorized aggregation operations. The query engine compiles each query against this encoding to optimized SIMD-accelerated machine code for execution. While the compilation step adds some time to the first execution of a given query plan, subsequent executions run at high speeds with low overhead. These capabilities, along with others, together provide a huge speed-up to many MongoDB queries. Talking about these speeds, we did extensive benchmarks and testing of performance, both internal testing and industry benchmarks. For example, we came up with a quick internal benchmark you can run yourself from our GitHub repository. This internal benchmark is modeled after an IoT use case and loads a synthetic dataset of 40 million events generated by a few thousand IoT devices. While loading the data, the benchmark executes queries such as, what is the most recent event sent by any device? Or, which 5 devices have sent the most events? The sort of queries that might be used by an analytics application managing these devices. We ran the same queries without modification against an instance of SingleStore Kai for MongoDB and an instance of MongoDB with comparable memory and CPU specifications. As you can see, during the benchmark, the time taken by the native MongoDB instance increases linearly up to over 60 seconds for some of the queries, while SingleStore Kai was able to execute these queries in milliseconds, with some queries up to 800 times faster. At the end, you see the last few data points for the native MongoDB instance take slightly less time. This is because the data load had completed and native MongoDB was able to execute the query faster without the data load going on. The SingleStore instance, in contrast, is able to support a continuous load of both analytics queries and writes without significant impact on either. Another benchmark we ran is the ClickBench Analytics Performance Benchmark. In this benchmark, 43 queries are executed over a dataset of about 100 million records. We found that compared to native MongoDB, over 80% of the queries completed in less than half the time. 50% of the queries were at least 43 times faster, which means a query that took 43 seconds in native MongoDB would be 1 second or less in SingleStore. Over 30% of the queries were at least 100 times faster with SingleStore Kai, and only 2 queries were very slightly slower and completed quickly in sub 300 milliseconds on both systems. These results, and the previous ones, are covered in more detail in a blog post. So enough of the benchmarks. What is it like to actually use the service? For this, I have a video demo showing SingleStore Kai and native MongoDB side by side. In my left terminal, I'll use the MongoDB shell to connect to a SingleStore workspace through the SingleStore MongoDB API. This cluster has 16 total cores running in the SingleStore cloud. You can see that to the shell, the server appears as a MongoDB 6.0 compatible endpoint, but the SingleStore welcome message lets us know it's SingleStore. On my right terminal, I'll connect to a MongoDB instance running on a VM in the cloud. This VM also has 16 total cores. I've loaded some synthetic financial data into both databases. Let's get the total document count. You can see that there are almost 5 million documents in this collection. One thing I'd like to highlight is when I run the count again, the numbers have gone up. Clients are streaming more transaction data into this database in real time. The same is true for the native MongoDB instance. It looks like it has slightly fewer documents. Data is streaming in at about the same rate. Now let's do a simple sort by count aggregation of the customer support level associated with each document. Here we see the count by popularity. We can run the same query on native MongoDB. This is where SingleStore starts to stand apart. The SingleStore database engine is highly optimized to process analytics queries like this with very low latency compared to many other databases like native MongoDB. And unlike some data warehouse solutions, the SingleStore results are updated in real time as changes are made to the database. This stands out particularly well in one of my other favorite MongoDB clients, the Grafana MongoDB connector. I've set up 2 Grafana dashboards running an identical set of queries over this financial dataset. These are connected to our databases through the Grafana MongoDB plugin. On the left side of my screen, I'll load the dashboard connected to the SingleStore MongoDB API, and on the right side, I'll load the dashboard connected to the native MongoDB instance. This dashboard displays the results of 6 queries and their corresponding query execution times. The top section is pivoted by country. For example, here I can change from the United States to Australia and see the query results update. The bottom shows the total number of rows, the average query times, and the ingestion rate in rows per second. Note that the average query times are well under a second. This means I can have a highly interactive experience. And I also can set up an auto refresh, so I'm always making decisions based on up-to-date information. Now let's look at the native MongoDB side. This displays the same queries as shown on the SingleStore side. Note that the analytics queries are taking a significant amount of time. This makes interactive use of this dashboard very frustrating. Now you might be thinking, this isn't such a huge amount of data. Well, let's ramp it up a bit and see how it scales. I'm back after loading more data into these databases. The SingleStore database now has over 10 times the number of rows compared to the native MongoDB database. Despite having more rows and receiving rows at a much higher rate, the SingleStore database is able to turn around the analytics queries at a dramatically lower latency than the native MongoDB database. This is because the SingleStore engine is highly optimized for having both transactional and analytics workloads running at the same time, and SingleStore makes more effective use of the available resources. Remember, both databases in this example have the same number of cores. The key takeaway: if you have MongoDB workloads that have this sort of pattern, where there's a transactional component to the workload, and you also want to perform real-time analytics on that data, for that type of use case, SingleStore can be an excellent choice. And now you can use SingleStore through the MongoDB API without changing the code of your MongoDB application. In this example, everything interacting with SingleStore is doing so through the SingleStore MongoDB API, and any other MongoDB client and tool will be able to access this data in the same way. I hope you enjoyed the demo. I should point out that with our initial preview release, we are continuing to optimize and innovate on the solution. Queries that perform filtering using MongoDB's dot notation syntax on fields or arrays, and aggregations involving top-level fields and fields in nested subdocuments are the most optimized. Over the next few months, we'll be rolling out updates that accelerate more types of queries. One of the updates I'm most excited about is using native JSON types end-to-end, from MongoDB clients through the proxy all the way to storage, without translation anywhere, which will improve performance even more across the full range of operations and increase compatibility over the JSON storage used today. Ultimately, through technologies in SingleStore, we believe we can ensure all types of MongoDB queries are greatly accelerated. But after spending so much time on performance, it's not all about speed. What can developers do now that they couldn't do before? Unlike other solutions in the market, SingleStore Kai for MongoDB has ensured SQL and MongoDB interoperability. Do you want to query a structured table with MongoDB API? The columns in the table become fields in the JSON document, and operations just work as you'd expect. Do you want to query data loaded through SingleStore Kai for MongoDB from a SQL client? This also just works, effortlessly, with the data remaining in one place. This even works with some of the most interesting SingleStore DB features, such as accelerated vector operations like dot product used for machine learning and AI. We're able to expose these through our MongoDB API, which brings capabilities to MongoDB applications which until now have been unavailable from any system. For example, you can store image embeddings in your JSON documents and use them to do searches like similar image matching directly inside your existing MongoDB queries, just like a less than or greater than would be embedded. For example, find a piece of art with a price less than $100 and sort by similarity to another image. These operations are highly accelerated using SIMD instructions in SingleStore, so the results arrive in real time. So finally, how can you try this yourself? We've released today SingleStore Kai for MongoDB in preview across 12 AWS regions. This will be expanding to more regions and additional cloud providers over the coming months. Go to this link, create a trial, and give it a try. And if you have questions, please stick around, and we will be doing a live Q&A with me and the rest of the team after this. Thanks for your time.
All right. Hello, everyone. Let's switch to a live Q&A session with a panel of product experts that we have here. Good morning, good afternoon, everyone. Hope you found that session engaging and informative. My name is Vijay, and I'm going to be your moderator for the live Q&A session today. If you have questions, feel free to add them to the Q&A chat function within Zoom, and we'll try and get those answered today. Okay. But before we jump into the Q&A session, I wanted to make sure we have an ability to go through some of the key aspects that we covered today. So number one, just as a key call to action, today we launched SingleStore Kai on Product Hunt. If you're not familiar with Product Hunt, it's a platform where people can share and discover new and innovative products like SingleStore Kai. We are already live on Product Hunt today. So if you go to producthunt.com, please, and sign in, please do check us out, support us, and please do share your comments as well. We'd like to be recognized as one of the favorite products on Product Hunt, and we really appreciate your support if you could support us. Okay. And the second aspect is, if you missed that link to the free trial that was shared earlier, I want to share that again. And I want to add on something. We have an interesting offer for you today. Anyone who tries out the SingleStore Kai today will be entered for a chance to win a brand new branded AirPods Pro. Okay, simply click this link or scan the QR code to sign up for a free trial. And you'll get $500 in free credits today to get started, and we'll be announcing a winner by the end of the day. Okay. I'll leave this link on for anybody if you're trying to sign in. But with that, let's jump into Q&A. I wanted to introduce our panel for experts today. So we have Jason Thorsness, who's the lead engineer for Mongo Kai, who you heard from earlier. And I also have Arnav, Manish, and Eric Hansen with me, who are all product managers here at SingleStore, who can help answer any questions you might have. Jason and others, feel free to come on camera and we can go through the Q&A. Okay, so I've already seen a number of questions come in. So let's just start with this first one. Jason, this one might be for you. The first one, this says, is Kai a query accelerator for Mongo? So the first question is really, is Kai a query accelerator for Mongo? And maybe an added question to that is, does it handle CRUD operations as well?
Okay, sorry, I was reading a different question from the Q&A thing. But so this question around, is it a query accelerator or does it do CRUD operations? Mm-hmm. So SingleStore Kai implements the MongoDB wire protocol and targets version 6.0 of MongoDB. And we've implemented the core set of commands across both CRUD and the analytics type things that you would do with the aggregate command. So you can use it for either purpose, analytics queries, or you can also do normal inserts, updates, all in the Mongo command syntax.
Perfect. Perfect. Thank you, Jason. So there's a couple of questions here around SQL and Mongo apps. So Arno, if you don't mind, I have a couple of questions around. So with Kai, how can developers use SQL for their Mongo apps? And can they use Kai to join Mongo collections with SQL tables?
Yes, this is a unique because we provide interoperability between SQL and Mongo. So, like when you see all the other Mongo API, they are only Mongo. Here we have true, like I will call it a universal store and universal API, where you can use SQL and Mongo and have different teams working over the same data. So if you have a collection on Mongo, you can use SQL to access it and vice versa. So you can do join and all of these operations.
Perfect. Thank you, Arnav. Manish, I see a couple of questions here around the CDC functionality. So one of the questions was, how does the CDC functionality work on Mongo? And then can we use the Kai connector to sync data to SingleStore and use SingleStore SQL to connect and query from Tableau? So if you want to take on the CDC question, Manish, that'll be awesome.
Sure. And thanks for the question. So one of the things we wanted to solve as a complete story around Mongo integration is how do we bring the data from your existing Mongo collections? And what we have introduced in limited preview today is an ability to natively ingest data into SingleStore. It is tightly coupled with the well-known SingleStore pipelines. So you can ingest data by pointing to your MongoDB clusters running on-prem or cloud in Atlas and ingest data into SingleStore. To the question around using the Mongo drivers to ingest data, yes, that works. But the new solution that we have built natively is much faster. On the downstream side, being able to connect with Tableau and continue to operate on that part is as is. It will work as it works with the SingleStore cluster. So there's no change that the customer would need to do to make it work with Tableau.
Perfect. Great. Thank you, Manish. I see more questions coming in. So Arnav, maybe this one is for you. Can this be used only for analytics, or is the good fit for both operations and analytics use cases?
Yeah, definitely. We will achieve around operation on transactional performance, on point reads, writes. We have like parity on point writes were a bit better, and on point read a bit slower, but that's millisecond type of latency. So really you can use that for your transactional, but as well, boost your analytics. So it's a win-win, on getting both. So it's not,
Right.
We are just 100x on the analytics faster. I mean, and transactional parity.
Right. Yeah. So it's like 100 to 1000x faster on analytics, and then comparable performance on transactional/operations as well. Okay, great. Fantastic. Thank you, Arnav. So there's a question here on aggregation pipelines. So Jason, I might post this to you, and then others feel free to jump in as well. MongoDB provides an aggregation pipeline, which is a data transformation engine within Mongo. Do we have something similar in SingleStore Kai? Jason, you're on mute, by the way.
Thanks. So the MongoDB aggregation pipeline syntax is really cool. You specify like a series of stages, and your data flows from your collection through those stages of various things like group, unwind, projections, manipulations of the data. It's very powerful. Through SingleStore Kai, you can use those same aggregation pipelines against SingleStore. So your application remains written in the with a Mongo client driver, and you submit the same aggregation pipelines that you would against an instance of native Mongo. And SingleStore Kai for MongoDB implements those stages using the SingleStore DB engine. So we've optimized the implementation of like groups and unwinds and such to use SingleStore's optimized encoding of JSON data and execution technologies. So that's how you can achieve faster performance for the same aggregation pipelines that you'd use against native Mongo. When you target SingleStore Kai for MongoDB, you get the same pipelines, same results, but much more quickly in many cases.
Perfect. Great. Thank you, Jason. Manish, I think a follow-up questions from a previous one. What's the cost structure for the new CDC offering that you have? Is that included, or is there additional cost for that piece?
Sure. And I think that's an important question because most people use some sort of integration tool, whether they manage it or it's a managed tool that they use. The good part about our native ingestion is that it comes along with SingleStore. You don't need to purchase any net new license or any additional tooling. It's part of our native pipeline, so you just get it out of the box. And that's the beauty of it.
Okay, great. Fantastic. Thank you, Manish. Arno, quick question for you. There's one question from Jairaj which asks about how do you create indexes in Kai? Will it support indexes?
Yeah, I responded that question. You can create an index. We have that command for a specific field, and that will create an index. So we support secondary indexes already.
Great. Jason, anything you want to add on to that?
I think, yeah, you could use any of the Mongo API create index statements. You can also create indexes through the SQL API and use some of the more SingleStore specific index technologies like sort key and such with your MongoDB data if you so choose.
Great, fantastic. There's a couple of questions. This is an interesting one, Jason. Is there a cost comparison between MongoDB and SingleStore Kai for the same workload? And I know you did some preliminary projects there, so I would love to hear your thoughts on that.
Yeah, I would love to do like a really rigorous cost comparison, and I'm sure we'll do something like that for a future blog post or something. What I can talk about is some early looking at this, looking at some competing services. They can be quite expensive for the query performance that you get. So because MongoDB native is not optimized for certain types of analytics queries, you have to way over provision the service and pay a lot more to achieve the same performance you can get with a smaller instance of, say, something on SingleStore Cloud. So if your workload uses such queries that just perform more efficiently on SingleStore, that efficiency means you can, SingleStore could be a much more cost-effective solution than like dramatically over provisioning some Mongo server to try to reach the same speeds.
Perfect. Arno, did you have a comment that you want to add?
Yeah, like when you look at the specs as well, like on price performance, we made some claims, so you already kind of try to know what's our price perf, but as well, especially when you try to scale out, like, and you have sharding, like there are a lot of hidden costs on Mongo Atlas that we don't have. So like our cost is simple, like we're distributed by nature and we don't charge more for that. And so, like you pay credit, you have a version and you get everything from that version. There is no hidden cost.
Okay, fantastic. Thank you both. So this is a question around the architecture. So there's a clarification. So is this like a proxy that runs in front of MongoDB, or can we remove MongoDB after migrating data to SingleStore? How is the SQL query run on the JSON document data?
Yeah, so SingleStore Kai is implemented primarily with a lightweight proxy service that sits between your MongoDB client application and the SingleStore database engine. So that allows the MongoDB client applications to interact with SingleStore, load data into SingleStore and retrieve data from SingleStore using the MongoDB protocol. If you wanted to, you could load data through the MongoDB API into SingleStore, and then after that, not use the Mongo API again. You could just query it directly with SQL from other SQL-based clients. That would be one way you could use the system, or you could keep using your Mongo clients just as is against SingleStore. They never have to change, and then you could also access that same data from SQL-based clients using the SQL API. And I think that ability to work with the same data from multiple types of clients, MongoDB API and SQL clients, opens up some interesting possibilities for simplifying some service architectures where there has to be fewer databases involved, and doing new things that are only possible when the data remains in kind of one place with one kind of place of record for that information.
Perfect. Okay, great. Thank you, Jason. I don't know, this one might be for you. Does Kai connect to Atlas?
So look, you can use Compass, you can use all the Mongo tooling, but not like the Mongo Atlas. It's the database. So you can connect to that from as a source, as a data source. So if you want to do replication and that from like our CDC, you can connect to it and get the data to replicate or do a one-time load. But yeah, all the Mongo tooling is supported like that. Like MongoDB tooling is supported. But am I answering your question? I hope, Willie.
Great, Willie. If you need a clarification, feel free to post a question. We can dive a little bit deeper as well. Okay, Manish, this one might be for you. I think you already answered one of this, but do you need to create any extra indexes on top of the Mongo data being synced using CDC or the Kai connector?
You don't need to. So you can simply point to your Mongo collection and directly import that data as is into SingleStore. And that's what makes it even better for zero change to your data or application. This data movement needs to happen so that data sits on SingleStore and Kai can operate on that data.
Perfect. And then sorry.
Can I add one quick thing to that, which is by default, the SingleStore stores data in kind of a columnar storage format. And it's almost like having a range index on all of the fields in the document with some of the things that it can accelerate as far as searching. So we've found that in general, you might need fewer indexes created over your collections when they're in SingleStore compared to what you might need to do to achieve good performance with native MongoDB.
Great. Thank you, Jason and Manish. Manish, there's a follow-up or a related question here is, does Kai connector support day zero data load? I understand CDC for live sync. How about day zero load?
Yes. So the way we have designed it is we do support the initial snapshot plus the ongoing CDC. So once you connect to your Mongo collections, you don't need to worry about the initial load along with the ongoing CDC. So it's out of the box.
Gotcha. Thank you, Manish. And there is a question here around implementation. So will Kai work with MongoDB that's hosted on Atlas or on-prem installation or both? So I don't know, Jason, if you want to maybe start there, and or no, Manish, feel free to add on.
Yeah, as a source database for ingesting the data, as long as the networking makes it possible, you can ingest from either Atlas or on-prem. We've tried it with Atlas. I think on-prem it will depend on the particular configuration and how that's accessible. Yeah, so hopefully that answers that question.
Yeah. Okay. Great. Thank you, Jason. There is a couple of questions around the roadmap that I see that's coming up here. So Jason and Arno, maybe I'll start with you, Jason. Talk a little bit about what's coming up for Kai, what improvement, what are the specific areas that you want to focus on for the roadmap that's coming up?
Yeah, so I think that a few things. Number one is we want to accelerate more queries and accelerate queries even more than they are today. So certain types of queries are, like we saw, 100x faster or even more. Other queries aren't quite as accelerated, and we are going to continue to invest in making those perform at the same high multiple of speeds. Along with that, we are doing some work in the data representation within the engine so that we never have to convert BSON data into another format, BSON being the native format used in the MongoDB wire protocol. And this will enable us to achieve even lower latency for point reads and point write operations. And we expect to be very competitive with native Mongo and other Mongo compatible databases, especially once we've done that work. I think another thing that we're investing in is exposing more of the unique SingleStore DB capabilities through the Mongo API using extension commands. This is one of the things that I mentioned in the video. You can use SingleStore's vector operations like dot product to accelerate and make possible these really interesting queries such as image matching. We have another demo that we did around text search, which is like semantic search. All kinds of things that are just not possible in Mongo today. We can add those to our implementation of Mongo, and we will be continuing to do that over the next few months.
Yeah, Arnaud, do you have something to add? And then one related question to that also, which Arnaud probably you can cover, is support for other. I know today we go live on AWS, so Kai is live today on AWS. What about other extending to other cloud providers as well?
So next will be GCP and then Azure. That's on the next. We will also provide towards this year in 2023 a serverless shared tier for Mongo, and we are working on that to make it very cheap to get started at a lower price. So that's one of the other area that we're investing. Awesome,
fantastic. Okay, I think we covered most of the questions that we had from the audience. I think there are still a few. If you Arnaud or Jason or others, if you find another question that you want to address, feel free to. But folks, as the questions are being addressed, again, I want to remind again, you can now try SingleStore for free. Here's the link. Go check it out. If you want to learn more, you saw an awesome demo that Jason did, but there is a lot more meat behind this. So there is a blog that Arnaud and we wrote on introducing SingleStore Kai. That's already out there. Go to singlestore.com/blog. You can find that. There's also a fantastic blog from Jason highlighting the performance benchmarks that we showcased, right? So Jason talked about the performance benchmarks. There's a specific blog on that. There is also links to demos and videos that you can look at. There's also documentation for Kai that's now available. So all of that is available for you to check out. And again, if you have questions, feel free to reach us at team@singlestore.com. And then we'll be happy to address anything that you might have. Okay, that's all. Unless Jason and Arnaud, if you had any other final questions or comments, I think we should be all good.
All good.
Okay, awesome, great.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you, everyone. That's probably the time that we have for today. Just want to let you know that there are blogs that I mentioned there. You can find more information. With this, I want to thank the speakers and the panelists for an engaging discussion today. And more importantly, I want to thank each one of you for joining us today. You will be receiving a link with the recording of the session in your emails soon. Okay, so if you have questions or if you need more information, go to singlestore.com and you can find more information on Kai and all of the latest and greatest there. Okay, with that, thank you once again, and thanks for joining us, and have a great rest of the day.
Thank you.